Hi, welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name. Now, today, I'm talking about the second part of the general reading of the 21st chapter of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which is the 18th chapter of the book of Zion. The name of the chapter is The Sighing of the Prisoners. And I'm going to take up where I left off last time. This book tells you that those who use drugs are a new kind of human. We have become gray, a hybrid human, a species created by the gray aliens to be an interpreter race, an advocate for the gray and for humans alike. We are priests who are created to bring to humanity a better way of life. This book says that God, the Gray, created drug users to save life on Earth. We are humans who have learned to be all that we can be through our drug use. How can this book not be controversial? And it's this controversy that will end the war on drugs and set our entire species on a more humane path. Because the imprisonment of my people is a grave injustice that was never supposed to be so horrific. We had to be created. So, this controversy was necessary to end the war on Zion. And do not be fooled. The war on drugs is a war against the people of Zion. That is what defines us. Drugs are objects. Objects are, by their very nature, inanimate. They are not able to perform actions. Drugs don't do anything in and of themselves, let alone wage a war. Drugs are used by people. Therefore, the war on drugs is in actuality a war against the people who use drugs. We who use drugs are the prophetic people known as Zion. Don't be fooled. I do want society to understand a very important point. None of this had to happen. The world is full of prophecies. Most are never realized. This one is playing out because we humans weren't wise enough to avoid it. If humans had found a way to overcome our greed and violent nature, none of this would have happened. But we did not. We walked right into this, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. That being said, since we have chosen this path of destruction, we must now walk this path. Drug users did not do any harm to society. None that required the government to declare war drugs illegal. At the most, a small minority of the human population did harm to themselves and to those close to them, which is part of human nature. Drug use doesn't cause true damage to the entire population. It only affects a small portion of the overall population. As I have already stated, the Grey planned this out 3,000 years ago. They led us down this path, not to do us harm, but to protect themselves and to help us, their children, to grow up. The dire need of both species required our isolation. That isolation required a severing of communications. So a means had to be created to ensure the survival of both species and the means to reconnect telepathically with us when the time came. This plan was never perfect. It was a means to ensure survival of both species. Yes, they needed us more than we needed them, but we would never have existed without them because we are a part of them. So, we, as their children, should respect their needs. As I said, it was never a perfect plan. The gray are not perfect, just as I am not perfect, and you are not perfect. I don't believe in perfect anything. The gray don't have all the answers. They are not God. They are God, those who from the heavens came. And to believe in anything that is perfect, any being that is perfect, is just not very realistic. So our imperfect creators did the best that they could to help us survive without them. Now they have returned as promised, and as they promised, so they will do. They will be here when we, their children, call on them. That is the promise of our Creator gods. They are not like us. They do not wage war. They do not lie. They do not impose their will upon us without need. They do not abuse nature or use money. They do not do harm to others for sport or cheat or steal or bully or any other human trait that does harm. They are not primitive like us. So, the sighing of the prisoners does bother them. They stand ready to give us aid. They see our pain and suffering. They have found me a willing human, gray, willing to be their voice on earth, so that together we can end this cruel abuse of power by heartless men who enjoy their self-righteous false beliefs that they have the right to impose their will on others. The state has gotten away with it because no one stood up to call foul until now. Now, the gray and I stand together to oppose an unjust abuse of power. The fulfillment of prophecy is an unstoppable force that has already been set in motion. The promise made to Abraham long ago will be kept. Israel and Zion will be protected. The God of Israel will appear at the call of the people of Zion. They will come in spaceships. They will come to prove to humanity that they alone are God. And God, even with a little g, is an unstoppable force that has stopped humanity from the day that created us. God, the God of the earth, is gray. They will come to Earth, just as they did before, in spaceships, bearing gifts for humanity, a parent race that had to leave us, but who promised to return in spaceships. They predicted that in their absence, we would degenerate into our baser nature, as all primitive sentient beings tend to do. But the addition of our gray DNA altered our abilities. It enhanced our abilities to do both harm and good. Most of us chose to do harm. The captivity of Zion, as we humans call it, the war on drugs, is an example of this enhanced effect, cruel and inhuman, without logical or moral justification. What more can the state take from my people? You already have everything. But you do not have our hearts. We are Zion. You can try to destroy us through your so-called war, but we are gray. We have overcome our baser human nature. You can try to force us to be like you, but you can't succeed. The knowledge contained in the prophecy by its very nature, will ensure that the war ends. We, who are the imprisoned, are not going to allow ourselves to forever remain under your control. Nature dictates that we will rise up to overthrow our oppressors, just like every other oppressed people on earth. We just need a reason. The prophecy is that reason. Historically speaking, when people are subjected to oppression by a government, it's only a matter of time before they free themselves. When they have suffered too much, it only takes a single person to step up and say, "Follow me." If that person has the right qualifications, it's game on. We are at that point in history, in the history of the war on drugs. This leader who stands up to lead must be someone who they feel has a plan, someone who they feel they can be proud to follow, someone who cares, someone who is no longer afraid of the enemy, someone which the will who has the will to say, "Follow me." We have the right to be free. We have the right to say, "Enough." This person will lead the charge to freedom. I now stand before all who use drugs to say, "Follow me." I have a plan. I'm not afraid of the government. We have the right to exist. We have the right to get high. Let's go camping until they have to give us a true hearing, where we can defend our right to live our lives our way, not the government's. Who chooses? It is not the government's choice. Who are they to decide what's right for us? How does our desire to have a good time bother anyone else? How does our party do harm to the state? The war on drugs won't end until the people of Zion stand up to the state to demand its end. Let's face it, the war on drugs is rigged. A game of pigs versus hippies. The pigs have all the power. They have all the means by which to rob and kill their prey. The hippies, the prey, can only hide and hope that they get passed by. The state has no desire to end our suffering. They revel in it. It's a very lucrative game. The state has no desire to end the persecution. So, let's go camping. The Bible says that if we go camping, God will come to prove to our enemies that we are who I say we are, Zion. It will be fun. We can pitch our tents and have a party like no other party in history. We can show the world who we are by just getting together in full view, just to be ourselves. Let's show the world how we act when we're behind closed doors. What's more open than the great outdoors? And that is where I'm going to end for this time. Next time I'll pick up where I left off. So, may the gray watch you, over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong. May you always be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light. May you always be happy and high. Know that I love you. Later, because I'll never say goodbye.